Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I have kind of a heavy topic I want to talk to you guys about today. I want to do another infertility video, and this isn't going to be one that's about any solutions that we're looking into. Honestly, that conversation is very heavily on pause because of just our circumstances right now. We can't really do anything until a lot is resolved. I don't want to talk about that aspect of it, but I did have a few little moments over the last 2-3 days that I wanted to share and talk about, because I saw another video of somebody else that does infertility videos where they talked about how they cope with infertility, and I immediately after that started having a lot of moments over the last few days where it felt like that. It felt like this is a moment where I'm having to cope with it. I'm having to face it. I'm having to deal with it, and it is very much at the forefront of my mind and kind of very in my face. And how am I gonna deal with how this is affecting me? So I also, before I get into that, wanted to talk about an aspect of it I've never talked about for our specific situation, which is we haven't actually been married that long. We've been married 2 years and almost 2 months. We have not been married that long. We don't have a story of trying for forever and it not working out. I have the pre-existing condition that I knew was going to affect this, and I'm almost 26, so I kind of right after we got married was like, okay, what's gonna happen with that? I wasn't like, we need to have one right this second, and I'm still not really even feeling that way. I think it's more I want to figure it out, or I want to be working on it and kind of working on stuff that's getting us towards that. But there's so much right now, it's just really hard to even think about all of it. So it was never from a standpoint of we have just been emotionally put through the ringer by trying and it not working. Honestly, my case, they didn't even want to give us any time to try on our own. And I guess knowing what we know now, I kind of don't blame them. I think a lot of them just kind of felt like that's a waste of resources and running us through the ringer for no reason. Like, it would be adding pain to us for no reason, no use. Like, there wouldn't be a function of it. So I kind of wanted to touch on that, because due to the fact that we have not actually been married super long, this whole series of going through infertility has never been about we need to have one right now. It's not to that point yet. We're not to that point of it yet, but it's been out of I wanted to kind of face it, deal with it, figure out what we were actually facing, and be as prepared as we can be, because I knew there were going to be some heavy hurdles for us, and I didn't want to be surprised by it because I knew it was already going to crush me. I just thought I'd put that out there, that for that reason is the exact reason we are not in a mode of immediately actively trying or actively pursuing an avenue yet. We have other aspects of it that we're working on to work towards that. We're not to that part of it yet. So I thought I would kind of touch on that as well. The video I watched the other day, and I'll link it down below, it's a really good video, kind of started this whole 3-day thing of, oh my gosh, here we go again, where I have it at the forefront of my mind and I have to deal with this. Specifically, I wanted to talk about the aspect of coping with people around you having kids or getting pregnant when you are going through this, because even just me knowing everything we're gonna have to do to have kids makes it difficult, and it has made it difficult since I was a teenager. It's been difficult even before I knew my exact numbers or what the full situation was. It was hard for me because I couldn't not covet it. Like, it was a struggle for me, and it still is, because, you know, right now we're back in a season where I feel like everyone is getting pregnant. And it's really not to that point because, I don't know, it's more it just feels like it than that's reality, of course. Seeing pregnancy announcements on Facebook specifically is like the hardest thing for me to shut off from. There are so many of my friends on Facebook of people I know that either post pictures of their baby all the time or are posting pregnancy announcements. And that gets really hard for me. And they always seem to pile up together. Like it was right before we got engaged, it was people getting engaged. And there was babies, but my mind didn't notice those as much then. My mind noticed people getting married because I was excited about the prospect of us getting engaged and getting married. And then after we got married, it like instantly switched to, oh my gosh, everybody's having babies. The part of it of the pregnancy announcements that's hard for me isn't that they're pregnant. More than not, I'm super excited for that person and I have seen them really want it just as badly as I do, and I'm really happy for them that they are getting that. The part of it that's always been hard for me isn't even actually the I want to be also right now. I mean, I wouldn't hate it. It would be really stressful though because we don't have a stable living circumstance right now, and I think that is something that has really sobered me with, okay, we need to take our time and think this through because we have a lot else to figure out. And I have my moments where I jump farther ahead. I don't stay as in the moment as I could. I have like anxiety over, well, how are we gonna even take care of that? And I try to stop myself. That's easier said than done. There is a huge emotional roller coaster that comes with all of this. There's also just the aspect of them having it happen so easily. Most of the time, they haven't had to try, they haven't had to think about it, they didn't have to do anything, and it just happened for them. And that is the aspect of it that I think gets painful the most, watching that happen for other people around me and knowing how much more difficult for us it's going to be. And not in a way that blames them, but that just kind of puts a little salt on the wound. And I don't mean to play woe is me. That's really not what I want this to be. One of the major ways I'm able to get through those moments or cope with those moments is self-talk. And reminding myself that it's not the end of the world and that it's not even the end of trying to have kids. That we're nowhere near getting a no, absolutely, and that I really don't need to let it overwhelm me in that way. Keeping perspective on the reality of our situation and just the more stress it would put on me to be also worrying about how this would affect our baby. So the other major way I cope is by trying to set boundaries when I feel like those kinds of things are just really overwhelming me and I can't deal with them. I try to discipline myself to not dwell on them and spend a little time off Facebook if I need to. Spend a little time not watching mommy videos, not watching cute kid videos, not dwelling on it, and watching something that'll take my mind off of it, or focusing on something else that will make me feel productive, feel good about where we're at. Not to say that magically fixes it, it doesn't, of course. But it can help. It can refocus myself, and that is always helpful. I think setting boundaries and really knowing myself and watching myself and my reaction has been one of the best tools I've had throughout this whole journey to kind of cope. I never want to ignore what I'm feeling, but I can monitor it in a way that doesn't take it beyond where it needs to be, and I can acknowledge it and not let it ruin or throw off track everything else that I have going on. Just being able to keep perspective on that, keep perspective of what reality is right this second, not let comparisons, not let the desire to have a kid, not let any of the big obstacles we're dealing with overwhelm me and take control of the situation. That can be easier said than done in some moments, and it can be really hard to set those boundaries with family members. There are some Facebook posts that are my family that I couldn't not acknowledge in some way, and I'm gonna have to acknowledge in person at some point eventually. So I can't get away from that completely, but I don't think that's the point of it. I think the true point is to just know yourself and set the boundaries you can that are the best for you. Be able to be consciously making those decisions for yourself throughout the whole time, and keep perspective on what you do have planned to do, or what's good that's happening, and the progress you are actually making. That I feel like was all over the place. I kind of last minute decided to do this. I felt like I needed to talk about it. I felt like it was something I needed to get out and process, and what better way than to share just another experience and aspect of it with you guys. So I hope this wasn't all depressing. I hope it was positive. I hope it helped you in some way. And if you can relate, if you have your own ways of coping, or if you have had moments of that also, I would love to hear stories. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it. Get the conversation going about kind of how to cope with this and the reality of infertility. And if you are not already subscribed, click the screen and subscribe, and then you can follow our journey and see what happens next and how things are gonna go. So I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!